Do I know everything about Qigong? That is going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. Okay, so very short, quick answer. No, I do not know everything about Qigong. Of course, I'm not going to end the vlog right there. I'll talk a little bit more about this, why I thought this could be an interesting topic to talk about, what inspired me for this, and a little bit of context around that. Why it's an important thing to understand that I do not understand or know everything about Qigong. So this actually came up recently in one of the sessions for one of the Qigong courses that is currently running for Long White Cloud Qigong. In those courses, we regularly have, group practice sessions, where as part of the group practice sessions, at the end of the session, we have some discussion, some questions, and talk about things. And we also just have regular Q&A sessions each week, where we discuss any questions that the participants have about different aspects of the specific Qigong practices that we're working with, as well as general things to do, with Qigong as a whole. And we're just coming towards the end of one of these courses at the moment. It's the Small Universe Qigong course, and it's an instructor certification program. It's a comprehensive 200-hour course. We really go into a lot of detail about a variety of different practices and all of the principles behind them to prepare people so if they want to, they can teach. Of course, a lot of people do the course just for their own benefit, so they understand the practices really well and can get more benefit from it. But it's of a depth, of a level of detail that, to prepare people to teach if that's something they want to do. And so at the end of this course, we are starting to focus on not just the learning of these practices and principles, but on what might be involved with teaching them. And so we had some discussion around this, and one of the people in that group was, expressing like, hey, what if I just don't want to teach, or I don't feel ready yet? And because I think, as we talked about things, it wasn't so much that she didn't want to teach, it was that she was like, I didn't necessarily feel like fully ready at this point to start teaching. Now, for the most part, because we do review sessions at the very end of each of these courses, when people finish, almost all of them say, yep, I have what I need to start teaching. But at the same time, sometimes people can have a little bit of personal, just lack of confidence and so on, just to begin with, because it can be a little bit of a daunting step to go from learning to actually teaching, guiding other people. And one of the things that we talked about as we were having this discussion was about, possibly comparing, this course participant, possibly comparing themselves with me. And because I've been, doing a lot of the teaching, not just me, some other instructors help as well on the course, but I've been doing a lot of this teaching, sharing knowledge and how to do the movements and so on. And I have decades of experience at this point. I've dedicated pretty much most, if not, you could say almost all of my adult life to working with Qigong and researching it and practicing and understanding and teaching. And so, at this point I have a pretty high level of knowledge and ability to explain that to other people and so on. And so, of course, someone who has, been practicing Qigong more recently over a period of time and doing a course, if they think that they need to have the same level of knowledge as me, I can see why they might not feel ready to teach. But of course, they don't need that same level of knowledge. Primarily, I do teach some regular classes at the moment where I'm just teaching people in the community, and I enjoy doing that, sharing Qigong with them and guiding them and helping them to understand, make their first steps in understanding different aspects of Qigong. But primarily what I'm doing now is training other teachers. For most people, when they're starting to learn Qigong, they often don't know anything about it or very little. And so in order to teach them effectively, to guide them, you do need to have a good understanding of basic principles, to have a sound understanding so that you can have confidence that you are leading them in the right direction. But you don't need to know absolutely everything. You need to know enough to guide them through their first steps, to guide them into starting to become aware of the connection between their mind, their body, and their breath, to start to become aware of how the energy flows within them, to become aware of the way moving in different ways affects their energy flow. You don't need to know everything to do that. You just need to know enough. Maybe they know this much. You just need to know this much so that you can lead them and guide them to start to discover this for themselves. Okay, that's maybe a little bit of a digression in terms of, some general background, different levels of knowledge and awareness. But as we continued to talk, one of the other people in the group was continuing to talk about, maybe comparing herself with me and even with the other instructors that help on the course, who have studied and practiced for quite some time at this point. And was saying about me, is like, oh yes, you shouldn't compare yourself to John because he knows everything about Qigong. And I quickly interjected and said, well, no, I definitely do not know everything. And he kind of like, oh, you kind of do, but I think that's important to understand as well. So even though, okay, I'm well past sort of early stages of just starting to discover Qigong, I've been doing this for quite some time, I've gained quite a level of knowledge experience, I certainly do not know everything. And this is not just, this vlog, me talking about this is not just an exercise in humility for me, although I do think that's important. I think it's important for all of us to recognize where we're at and what we do know and what we don't know, recognize we have limitations. That's important for me to acknowledge that to myself. I don't know everything. But I think it's also important for perspective for students, for people who are learning from me, to also recognize that I don't know everything. It's nice for them to think that I'm knowledgeable and that I can help them with lots of things, and I often can. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time focusing on Qigong. And when we're talking about things, often we're talking very specifically about individual practices and the principles behind them. But, often also people will ask other questions about different things relating to Qigong. And for the most part, I'm generally quite happy to discuss a wide variety of topics that relate to Qigong. And, a lot of the time I'm able to, share useful things about that because I do have a broad knowledge, particularly in terms of using Qigong from a health perspective with Chinese medicine, from study and from practicing clinically, applying Qigong to physical performance in the context of martial arts and Kung Fu, applying that in different ways, and then, also to the broader philosophy of life. I've spent a lot of time with this, and so I can often address questions about many, many different topics. Still doesn't mean I know everything. There will occasionally be a topic, and it's kind of like, I don't know. It's not something I've really spent a lot of time on. I don't really have context for that. And I think sometimes the students quite literally do expect me to kind of know everything. Like any question, I'll have an answer. It's because, a lot of questions I have an answer for. Sometimes there'll be some that I don't. And it's important to have that realistic expectation. I'm not going to know everything. I'll help you with what I can. But sometimes you might actually need to go somewhere else. And someone else might know, even within the field of Qigong, there might be someone else who knows something that you're interested in or that's useful to you, and I don't. And and this is partly why, of course, I'm very open to students studying and learning from different places. Not just with me, not just with Long White Cloud Qigong. I think we offer a lot of really valuable practices, give people a really solid foundation in many ways. There's no way I, or, as an organization, Long White Cloud Qigong, can teach absolutely everything about Qigong. Sometimes you're going to need to look elsewhere. That's a wonderful thing. Go and find the things that are useful, that are valuable to you, and have a realistic perspective. I'm not going to know everything sometimes. And I guess there's another layer to this as well. I'm also aware I don't even know what I don't know. So I do know stuff that I do know, but there's going to be stuff that I don't even have a conception of to even know that I don't know it. And yeah, helpful to just always have this realistic perspective in life. My role is not to teach you or anyone everything. My role is to share things that I hope you'll find valuable and useful, but I will be only one source of information, of guidance in your life. You will find other sources in terms of other teachers, books, things like that, and also, most fundamentally, your own experience. In the end, this should be your ultimate guide, is the things that you discover for yourself. You'll have different guides along the way that contribute useful information and direct you and maybe help to keep you safe, avoid you from making mistakes and so on. But in the end, it's what you experience for yourself that gives you the true knowledge that is going to be most valuable to you. Okay, a little bit of a different one again. Hopefully there's something useful in it. I look forward to seeing you on another vlog soon.